Let's talk quickly about parties and party polarization in Congress. Parties can help serve as an institutional structure within Congress to help facilitate collective action. There are a ton of members of Congress. These days, 435 in the House, voting members in the House, and 100 in the Senate. And to get those collectives to work together, we need structures. And parties are one great structure because they can really help reduce information costs. Well, how is that? If you think about your party members as sort of members of the same team, right? You all have a similar goal. You want your party to do well in subsequent elections, and you want the other party to not do as well in subsequent elections. You also presumably have very similar ideological perspectives on things, because that's why you're joining the same party, and similar policy goals. This means that if you know how other members of your party are voting on something, you know how you should be voting on it, even if you don't know a bunch about the issue. And this is made even easier if the president comes out with his opinion on the issue. So if there's a bill that you're going to have to vote on soon, and the president says, I want Congress to vote yes on this bill. Well, if you are the same party as the president, you're probably going to vote yes. If you're the opposite party, you're probably going to vote no. And actually, that's the single best predictor of how a Congress member is going to vote. If you know how the president will vote, and you know what party the president and the Congress member are in, you can pretty accurately predict how that Congress member is going to vote. So that gives us a lot of sort of smoothing of these collective action problems. It can also really help smooth over collective action problems in the long term because parties help sort of mitigate some of the change that happens from elections. So if you decide not to seek re-election, maybe you're in the House and you want to try to get elected to the Senate, or you want to run for governor in your state, or maybe you just want to retire, your successor, the person coming after you, your successor, if they're a member of the same party, everyone else in Congress can assume your successor is going to behave like you did, right? Because you're in the same party and you're representing the same district. So that can really help if you've entered into a log rolling agreement with another member of Congress and now you've left Congress. If your successor, why do I keep doing that? Your successor is in the same party, there can be some assumption that maybe they'll keep that deal. They'll uphold your end even though you're not there anymore. So this can help smooth over collective action issues that arise from the sort of longevity of these deals. Now, party leaders also have tools to control their party members. So there's sort of institutional and political tools that they can use to keep their members in line. So again, making it so that parties sort of behave in a unified manner. And this leads us to party polarization. There's a theory that says that party control will sort of ebb and flow as parties experience ideological conflict. What within the party? What that basically means is if Republicans are very internally unified, the party leaders will be able to exercise a lot of control over the rank and file Republicans, and therefore that sort of party power and the ability of the party to organize action is going to be greater. Now, if the party has a lot of internal divisions, the power of the party leaders and therefore the party to organize things will be weaker. And I use Republicans as an example, but the same thing would be true for Democrats or any party. This theory is called conditional party government. And conditional party government has shown that under polarized conditions like we have now, the conditions are right for the parties to exercise a lot of control. That's because party polarization within Congress has resulted in sort of more internally homogenous or unified parties where there aren't a lot of internal differences, or at least not a lot of internal differences that are being acted upon, and parties that are distinct from each other. So the Democrats and the Republicans stand for clearly different things. This was not always the case in American politics, but this has grown over time, and we're reaching a current peak right now where the parties are, again, internally unified, but separate from each other. So you can pretty much tell based on a couple policy positions if a Congress member is going to be Democrat or Republican. Likewise, if you know if they're Democrat or Republican, you probably know how they're going to vote on certain issues. So this has allowed party leaders to sort of better organize their party members, exercise more control, and has therefore sort of heightened this appearance of polarization in that the parties are more likely to vote along party lines. Now, as far as we can tell, this is not just an artifact of party leaders exercising control, that party leaders are exercising more control because the parties are getting more internally unified. This is something I've been doing research on, and a lot of scholars are researching. If you're interested, feel free to ask me questions about it. Otherwise, there's a ton of sort of advanced reading on our optional readings and optional videos this week.